Shri Gurave Namaha. Nam Shrishtam Manumapi Satchiputram Matrasharupam Rupam Tasya Vrajanarupurim Mathirim Vashnavatim Radha Kundam Girivaram Maho Naradhikumadhavasam Prapto Yashya Pratita Kripaya Shri Gurum Tam Natosmi Vanchakalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. Anarpita charinchirat karunayavatirna kalaham shamarpaitununnatajvalarasam subhakti shrim haripurata sundara dhyuti kadamba sundipita kada hridaye kandareshpurato vasachinandana. Ajanalambita bhujo kanakavadato Sankirtanaikapitaro kamalaya takshu Vishwambaro dhyavaro jugadharmapalo Bamde jagatpriyakaro karunavatararo Ladine shakti sharupaya gauranga suridaya cham Bhakta Shakti Pradhanaya Gadadhara Namostute. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. Radhe Vrindavanadishe Karunamrita Vahini Kripaya Nijapadabja Dasyanmayam Pradiyatam. Bhaktya Vihinaya Aparadha Lakshaya Kiptaschakamaditarangamadi Kripamaitvam Sharanam Prapanam Brinde Namaste Charanarabindam Brinde Namaste Charanarabindam. Srila Gurudev Ki Jai. Sri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Shri Man Mahaprabhu Ki Jai, Shri Shri Gaur Radha Madhav Ki Jai, Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Shri Gopi-Gita Ki Jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Gaur Premananda Haribo. So, good evening to all of you. Thanks for coming again, and my pleasure to be connected today with all of you. It's in this new series of talks that we are starting today about the Gopi-Gita, which means the song of the gopis, sometimes called also the song of separation. So today and tomorrow, we will actually spend 2 days trying to give a not so brief introduction to the Gopi-Gita. And we will officially start with the first verse of the Gopi-Gita next week on Monday. And we will try to go through each one of the verses of the Gopi-Gita, which are 19, and actually are 21, because there are 2 other verses that are also connected as part of the whole Gopi-Gita. So 1 verse per class, that one may take like 3 weeks or so. And so we will have in classes from Monday to Friday. So we'll have some days together. But today and tomorrow I would like to give some context, so we really get to appreciate in depth the value and content of the Gopi-Gita. So today will be the first introductory class to that. And I have tried to connect this with what we have been seeing these last weeks and months. We have already completed, if you will, quote unquote, impossible to finish, but 3 series about Gaur Lila. We started speaking about Panchatattva. Later we continue with Sikshastakam, and after that we studied Gaur Astaka Lila. So we spent considerable time in Gaur Lila. I mean, we have the eternity is waiting for us for spending much more time there. But as we know, when you go deep into Gaur Lila, you emerge in Krishna Lila. So now we are trying to emerge. First, we are trying to immerse in Gaur Lila, and consequently we are trying to emerge in what we call Krishna Lila. And Gopi-Gita will be, as you will see, that specific important point in Krishna Lila, that if you are able to go through really that deep into Gopi-Gita, you will find yourself again in Gaur Lila. Because that's the zenith of the Bhagavad, as you will see, and that's what takes us to the very essence of what Gaur Lila is about. So in this way, we are trying to immerse and emerge ad infinitum. So, as you may know, I have asked some devotees to suggest different topics that you may like me to speak about. So I have received very nice suggestions from many of you. And I presented those ideas to Guru Maharaj to see his opinion also. I like to know his opinion, and also I gave him my opinion, and regarding I had some idea already. And well, Guru Maharaj chose one idea, which was the one that I shared to him. Of course, the other ones are really available. I will try to incorporate them in this series and in others as well. And again, my point in going through Gopi-Gita was, well, we were speaking about Gaur Lila, now we go to Krishna Lila and so forth. But also those who have certain affinity towards Madhurya Bhav, Bhavalasrati Manjari Bhav may find this study important. But also those who have some affinity towards Sakya Rasa, specifically Priyanarma Sakya Rasa, will find important this series, because it's an important point for aspirant to Priyanarma Sakya to be acquainted with some of the details of the moods in Madhurya Bhav, because the Priyanarma Sakya will be serving in the context also on that particular romantic life of the Absolute. Of course, this is not a cycle of section of the Bhagavatam that will enter into full detail about, for example, Manjari Bhav, like other books like, I don't know, Bilab Kusumanjali and some others. So it's a general idea of what's Madhurya Bhav, but at the same time, it's a very substantial section of the Bhagavatam, the most substantial, if you will. So, so when I made the cycle of Panchatattva, I tried to also support my points with Guru Maharaj's sacred preface. After that, I tried to also connect my exposition on Sikshastakam with Guru Maharaj's commentary on Sikshastakam. And when we spoke about the Gaurastaka Lila, also I tried to present ideas in the context of Guru Maharaj's commentary to that, as well as other texts. And in this case, I will speak about Gopi-Gita, and also I will take as support Aesthetic Vedanta from Guru Maharaj, which is a book, very nice book he wrote many years ago about the Rasa Panchadhyaya, or the 5 chapters concerning Rasa Lila, Gopi-Gita being one of them, or the main one. So I will take that as support, as well as some other famous commentaries from different Purvacharyas of this section of the Bhagavad. So as I said, before starting with Gopi-Gita in itself, we will make some broader introduction, also connected to not only the preceding chapters of the Gopi-Gita. Gopi-Gita is the 3rd chapter of the 5 that compose the Rasa Panchadhyaya. So we will today and tomorrow speak about the 2 previous chapters, but also I would like to share some brief words about other Gitas, other songs. Gita means song, that we will find, apart from the famous Bhagavad-Gita, of course, but in the Bhagavad, there are many other Gitas as well. So, of course, Gopi-Gita being the most important of them, as we might sometimes like to call it the Song of Songs, as it's also sometimes called in the context of Christianity. We also have our Song of Songs, Gopi-Gita. Of course, maybe the most famous Gita of all, for most of them, is the Bhagavad-Gita, which is the song of the Absolute, the song of God. Interestingly, in Gopi-Gita, we will find not so much the song of God, but a song that God himself is hearing and being captivated by. So it's a song towards him, directed to him by the gopis. So we may know already Bhagavad-Gita, but when we go to the sequel, natural sequel of the Bhagavad-Gita, which is the Bhagavad, the whole Bhagavad is a song in itself. This is natural, as I say, sequel. And inside of that Bhagavad, that song, we have different songs or cantos. Cantos means volumes in English, but in Spanish, canto means song, interestingly. So it's song, whatever you may like to see it. So in the same way that the Bhagavad-Gita is a whole song in itself, the Bhagavad at the same time is a song and includes many songs, many Gitas inside. of its different chapters. So I will share some of those sections known with the title of Gita as an introduction to the Gopi-Gita. So these names have been are found in the Bhagavad itself, or sometimes some commentaries have given these names to different songs, Gitas of the Bhagavad, like Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. No? So for example, some of them, before going to the main Gitas, we have a secondary Gitas, if you will, of the Bhagavad, sung by not Brajavasis, precisely not the gopis, but other devotees. So for example, in the 4th canto, we have the Rudra Gita, the song of Lord Shiva. This is in chapter 4, 24th chapter, verses 33 to 68. So here we find Lord Shiva. I will briefly mention something about them, only very briefly. And as Archon Siddhi mentioned, I will try to make my lectures a little bit shorter, with the exception of today and tomorrow, that I will try my best as well, but I don't think I will finish in 1 hour, so bear with me. I promise that from Monday on, I will be there with my bow. So this Rudra Gita is a song which Shiva is teaching. She was teaching this song to the Prachetas, who want to perform certain devotional austerities to please Krishna, as guide for the worship. Shiva provided this song. So the Prachetas sang this Rudra Gita for 10,000 years under the water. So a very pretty, intense song. And they attained the darshan of Bhagavan by that, who blessed them in various ways. That's one song. Another song we know in the Bhagavatam is the Mahishi Gita, or the song of the Queens of Dwarka. So this will be found in the 10th canto, in the chapter 90, the last chapter of the 10th canto, from verses 15 to 24. So these are mainly 10 verses that express the mood of the Dwarka Mahishis, the Queens of Dwarka, where they address in ecstasy different creatures, similar to what the gopis do in the Venu Gita, for example. They addresses creatures like birds, the ocean, the moon, cloud, mountain, river, and so on. And they project their own attachment to Krishna towards them. So they appreciate the attachment that all these species have for Krishna, in the pretext of empathizing with them. So that's the Mahishi Gita. Also, we have the famous Uddhava Gita. So these are the teachings of Krishna to Uddhav. They constitute a long section of the 11th canto of the Bhagavad, these are not only verses, but from chapter 7 to 29. So most of the 11th canto is this Uddhava Gita, Krishna instructing Uddhav. We remember that when Krishna was about to disappear from the world, Uddhav was overwhelmed with intense feelings of separation, and he decided to accompany Krishna. But Krishna wanted Uddhav to stay here for a while, to go to Badarikashram, to enlighten the sages there on his behalf. So at that time, Krishna instructed Uddhav and gave his final teachings, very much a parallel to Krishna's Bhagavad-Gita to Arjuna, but in the language of speaking to someone like Uddhav, who had a different disposition than that of Arjuna. So this is the longest philosophical section of the Bhagavad, as I mentioned. So this is the Uddhava Gita, although there are some other acharyas who consider Uddhava Gita as 6 verses, the 6 verses that Uddhava sang before leaving Vrindavan. When he went to Vrindavan to give a message and actually to receive a message from the Brajavasis, and after witnessing there and wandering there for months, singing in ecstasy, before leaving, he recites 6 famous prayers specifically to the gopis. So those are connected also to call sometimes Uddhava Gita, what happens after the famous Brahmar Gita, or the Song of the Bumblebee. And inside this Uddhava Gita, we have 2 other Gitas. One called the Bhikshu Gita, or the Song of the Avanti Brahman, which is in the 23rd chapter of the 11th canto, verses 42 to 57. So there Krishna narrates this story to teach how one should tolerate disturbances of evil persons. The Avanti Brahmana was a greedy person, angry, very miserly merchant. So eventually, in due course of time, he lost all his wealth and was abandoned by everyone, basically. So he developed a sense of renunciation by that. He began to see Krishna's hand in his life, and he was fixing his spiritual practice at that point, and he sang a song known as Bhikshu Gita, or the Song of the Mendicant, if you will. And it is said that this song was adored even by Mahaprabhu himself. He chanted one verse of this song when he accept sannyas. Itam sastaya paratmanishtam aryasitam purvatam maharishvi aham tarishyami duranta param tamoma kundangri nisheva jaiva, which speaks about in the order of sannyas, one is to accept fully the service of Sri Bhagavan, and in that boat cross over the ocean of birth and death, basically. Another song inside of the Bhagavad-Gita is the Aila Gita, or the Song of Aila. Aila is another name for Pururava. This is also found in 11th chapter, 11th canto, 26th chapter, and verses from 7 to 28. So Pururava or Aila was someone who was bewildered by the association of Urvasi, a heavenly lady. And later he became renounced after being separated from her, with all implied suffering there. So expressing his contempt for undue attachment to the opposite sex, if you will, he sang a song called the Aila Gita. So eventually Pururava was freed from illusion and eventually attained insight from Bhagavan. And we have one more song, apart from the Bhagavad-Gita, in the 12th canto of the Bhagavad, called the Bhagavad-Gita. So this is in the 3rd chapter of the 12th canto, verses 1 to 13. And in this song, we find Bhumi Devi, Mother Earth, lamenting for, we are in the section of 12th canto, means Kali Yuga, basically. Focusing the symptoms of Kali Yuga, which is characterized by corrupt governor people and so on. So the Mother Earth is lamenting here for the foolishness of the so-called kings of this age who are bent upon conquering her and so on. And so this is another song at the end of the Bhagavad. So these are some of the Gitas of the Bhagavad, which we have not to do with the inhabitants of Vrindavan. We have not to do, I mean, they have to do somehow or other, some of them, but they are not directly spoken by the Brajavasis or by the Gopis in this case. So now, before entering to the introduction to Gopi-Gita, let me share with you another 6 songs, all of which are sung by the Gopis of Vrindavan, all of which are found in the 10th canto of the Bhagavad, of course. And these are the most important songs of the Bhagavad. So we will mention 6, and one of them is the Gopi-Gita. So, as I say, all of them contain elements from the previous songs that I just mentioned: philosophy, morality, prayers, insight, Siddhanta, but also Lila, Rasa. And all of them, these 6 songs are connected to the main gift that Mahaprabhu came to give: Raga Bhakti, Braja Prem. Sometimes it's said that the Bhagavatam, as you know, is the cream of the Veda. Nigama kalpataror galitam phalam, or the ripe fruit, sweet fruit of the desired tree of the Vedic knowledge. So these Gitas, all of which sung by the Gopis, we may call the 6 songs Gopi-Gitas, all of them, even though there's one called Gopi-Gita. But all of them are sung by the Gopis. So if the Bhagavatam is the cream of the Vedas, we may say the Gopi-Gitas are the burfi of the Bhagavatam. So these 6 Gitas sung by the Gopis, all of them are deeply emotional, very surcharged with love, with verses that arise from the Braja Gopis' immaculate, pure hearts. And well, in these expressions, outpourings, they are generally, we will see them crying out in the agony of separation from their beloved Shyam Sundar. And in that context, the Braja Gopis are revealing the topmost transcendental feelings of Mahabhav, the pure, highest level of emotional transcendence. So I will briefly speak now about these 6 songs, of course, one of which will be the Gopi-Gita. But all of this is I'm creating the momentum for what will we start officially on Monday. So the first of them is the Venu-Gita. Venu-Gita, or the Song of the Flute. This will be found in 21st chapter of 10th canto, verses 7 to 19. So here the Gopis are hearing Krishna's flute during Krishna's Purvana Lila, the mid-morning pastimes, when Govinda is going with his Gopa friends to tend the cows in the forest. In the autumn season, this is there. So the Gopis are staying at home and hearing Krishna's sweet flute, sweet call, and to tolerate their pangs of separation. They have not met with Krishna officially yet. They start to sing gathered together in groups about their beloved in this Venu-Gita, about the sound of his flute and how the sound of the flute create different effects in the different inhabitants of Vrindavan. So they will start to project their own bhav into the river, to the clouds, into the demigods, even into the animals of Braj, and in this way try to cope with the Vipralamba. So that's the Venu Gita. Briefly mentioning, each of these Gitas deserve a whole series in themselves. After that, we have the Pranaya Gita. Now we are already in the Rasa Panchadhyaya, in the 5 chapters of the Rasa Lila. Pranaya Gita is part of that. Pranaya has to do with equal love. We spoke about that, and we will speak about that later. So this is found in the 29th chapter of the 10th canto, verses 31 to 41, 11 verses. So this is the first chapter of the Rasa Panchadhyaya, the 5 chapters of Rasa Lila. So the gopis hear Krishna's flute invitation for amorous sports. They drop everything, as we will see in a while, and run through the frightening midnight forest just to stand before their beloved there. And what does Krishna do there? He starts to preach Dharma to the gopis. You should return home. This is not good for ladies. He tries to dissuade and reject them. So this Pranaya Gita is the gopis' answer to those words of Krishna. Now in a while we will mention something more in the context of introducing GOPI-GITA. After that we will have the GOPI-GITA. I will mention brief words now, which is the Song of Separation. This is in chapter 31, and it's the whole chapter, verse 1 till 19. And 2 more verses of the next chapter will be included also. So this Gita comprises the entire 3rd chapter of the Rasa Panchadhyaya. And again, after the gopis sang the Pranaya Gita in chapter 29, then later in the night, they start the Rasa Lila. The gopis defeat Krishna in their argument, but Krishna suddenly disappears, as you know, leaving the Braja Gopikas dejected in the forest. So they were overwhelmed with broken hearts, crying piteously, swooning, and they sit down at the bank of the Jamuna, and Srimati Radharani started to lead the kirtan there, after searching a long time for Krishna. So with their minds filled with Krishna's pastimes and presence, and their hearts like burning in the fire of separation, they start to cry for their beloved this particular song, GOPI-GITA, the Song of Separation. And we have 3 more Gitas, bear with me. The next one is the Jugal Gita. And this is chapter 35 of the 10th canto, verses 2 to 25. So this is the Gopi song as Krishna is wandering in the forest. This is after the Rasa Lilas chapters. So as you know, although the gopis will like to run with Krishna in the forest, they cannot do that because of the social dynamics of the Lila. So they cannot do that in one sense, physically, but their minds are running there every single day. So they remain in the village, the gopis, doing their different daily domestic duties, but in their minds they are absorbed in the other direction, passing their time singing about Krishna's pastimes while eagerly waiting for his return in the afternoon, evening. So they are standing in different groups here and there in Braj, and there's recites here in this song pairs of verses. That's why it's called Jugal. Jugal means pairs. Also sometimes refers to the Radha and Krishna's pair. So they recite pairs of verses clarifying Krishna's late afternoon pastimes, the Aparana Lila of Sri Hari, 3:36 from 2:6. Remember the timings, please. When he's returning from the pasturing grounds with the cows, with the cowherd boys, and so on. So this is the Jugal Gita. Also, we have the Viraha Gita. Viraha Gita is a very sweet and sad song when the gopis are singing when Krishna is leaving Vrindavan, when Akrura is taking him and Balaram out of Braj. This will be found in chapter 39 of the 10th canto, and there are verses 19 to 31. So as you know, Akrura is sent to Braj by Kamsa to bring Krishna and Balaram to Mathura, so they inviting them to the wrestling match, so with the intention of killing them. But as you know, they are leaving, and the gopis, they can't bear even a moment of separation from Krishna. So they were devastated about thinking the lengthy, the impending separation from him. So they began conversing with tears between them, and that conversation is called Viraha Gita, the song of separation, another one. And finally, the sixth GOPI-GITA, or the sixth song sung by the gopis in the Bhagavad, is the Pranaya Gita, famous section also, the song of the bumblebee, which will be found in chapter 47 of 10th canto, verses 12 to 21. So after Krishna leaves Braj, as you know, and he moves to Mathura, Krishna sends Uddhav, as I mentioned before, back to Braj with a message to pacify the Brajvasis, especially the gopis. So the gopis bring Uddhav to a secluded place and to speak more secretly, confidentially. And at that moment, at one point, Radha sees a bumblebee, which appears in the scene, and she mistakes it to be a messenger of Uddhav, or someone very dear to Krishna, or to Uddhav, in that context, like spy, if you will. So she, in complete bewilderment, she starts to speak different types of jalpas, or crazy talks, 10 varieties of it. And she starts to speak to the bumblebee like a mad woman, showing the highest degree of Mahabhava, of divine madness. So this is the Pranaya Gita, the song of the bumblebee, which concludes with Uddhav offering prayers to the gopis before leaving Vrindavan, expressing his appreciation, his aspiration. This is sometimes called Uddhav Gita, as I mentioned, this section of 6 verses of Uddhav praying there. So some brief introduction to some of the Gitas we can find in the Bhagavad, for you to have a broader idea of the context of what we are about to speak. So now let's go to the introduction of the GOPI-GITA. As I said, GOPI-GITA is found in a section called the Rasa Pancha Adhyaya. Pancha means 5, Adhyaya means chapters, and Rasa has to do in this case with Rasa Lila. So these are the most important, if you will, chapters of the whole Bhagavad. It's like the zenith, theological zenith of the apex of the Bhagavad. So this is found in 10th canto, chapters 29 till 33. So GOPI-GITA is the chapter 31. It's just in between, in the middle of this Rasa Panchadhyaya. So today I will give you an introduction to the Rasa Lila, what's the significance of Rasa Lila, some words that Guru Maharaj has shared, of course, in his ascetic Vedanta. And also a brief introduction to chapter 29, which is the first chapter of the Rasa Panchadhyaya. And tomorrow we will do an introduction to chapter 30. So after that, we will start chapter 31, which is GOPI-GITA. So first of all, let's go with some introduction to Rasa Lila in itself. And for this, we go a little bit back to the previous chapters that I mentioned. Venu-Gita, Krishna playing his flute, chapter 21 in the 10th canto. So after that, we have the famous Vastraharana Lila, where Krishna is stealing the clothes of the gopis. As you know, certain gopis, in their desperation, they pray to Yogamaya, higher agency. For a month, they worship her, worship Katyayani, which is a form of Yogamaya, only eating avishya, a very austere preparation, and bathing in the cold river in winter. And their desire was, may we have Krishna as our husband. May we have Krishna as our husband. So of course, Yogamaya has the highest mystic power to connect, to link. So that's what the gopis were after. So the last day of their vow, if you will, all of them met together down in the Jamuna, and it was there that Krishna engaged in Vastraharana. He stole their clothes. And we know the whole Leela, I won't enter into detail, when the gopis had to go naked in front of Krishna, fully naked, fully transparent, fully surrendered. And Krishna was accepting them as their wife because only the husband can see the wife naked, and some other considerations. And in this context, Krishna also promises the gopis, very soon I will satisfy all your desires, implying very soon there will be Rasa Lila, and you will join me there. So the gopis returned very happy to the whole house, knowing that was the first time they were able to interact personally with Krishna. So they were really overwhelmed by joy. So after this Vastraharana Lila, just to understand the sequence and how the Bhagavatam itself is building the whole point to the Rasa Lila, after all this, we have the Govardhan Lila, which is a trailer of the Rasa Lila. In the Govardhan Lila, Krishna is, as you know, 7 days giving uninterrupted darshan to all the Brajavasis. Now we are sometimes feeling uncomfortable being in quarantine, confined at our houses, but all the Brajavasis were in quarantine for 7 days uninterrupted without being able to move for a while under the mountain, but all of them were happy without social media. Why? Because they were having uninterrupted darshan of Sri Krishna, something that none of the Brajavasi was able to do before, were able to do, because Krishna always living on some part of the day with his friends, sometimes with the gopis, sometimes with his parents. So some separation was always there for everyone. But here, uninterrupted darshan for 1 week. So the gopis were seeing Krishna. Krishna was showing himself to them, giving some sort of trailer to what's about to come in the Rasa Lila. So this is like a year after that. No? So at this point, their maturity in the dynamic, in the chronological unpacking of the earthly lila, reached their full blossoming. So Krishna became what we call sometimes Karshana Sarup, which means the very personification of attraction. So all this was reaching the gopis, and they were drinking the beauty of Krishna and hankering more and more of this. So all these were creating momentum for this Rasa Lila, for this Rasa Panchadhyaya, the 5 chapters of the Rasa Lila Mahotsav, the great festival of the circular dance. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur compares these 5 chapters to the 5 pranas. There are 5 pranas that are described in the scripture, 5 life airs. So he compares these 5 chapters of the Rasa Lila to the 5 pranas of the Bhagavad. So let's share some brief words about the significance of Rasa Lila in itself. And after that, we will go to chapter 29. Of course, we are now, we are not jumping into the Rasa Lila. We have been trying to give context and speaking some other things, but we have to understand we are approaching a particular section of the Bhagavad, but in order to approach it properly, we should consider many things that happened before that in the Bhagavad. Not only in the 10th canto, we have 9 cantos before that, where so many topics were there, different kings, saintly kings, devotees, avatars, atomic theories, so many topics described in 9th cantos to give enough context so the Bhagavatam is able to speak about the life of Krishna. That's not a cheap thing. That's not an easy thing to understand, as you know, because it can be very easily misconstrued. So the Bhagavad is creating, given the proper context, because as the saying goes, a text without context becomes a pretext. That can happen. So the Bhagavatam is given enough context so he can speak about the life of Krishna. Or Krishna himself can speak about his life through the Bhagavad, which is his own form, literary form. So it's important, this idea of context. Sometimes we require a whole lifetime of context to understand a little aspect of transcendence. And we should be willing to do that. And we should be willing to invest our life, this lifetime, to receive the proper context so we can understand, to have a glimpse of even one point in the line of eternity. Because that context will allow us to understand everything properly. And to understand everything properly means to know the proper price of the product we are about to acquire. We want to acquire. We say we want Krishna Prem, we want divine love, we want to follow the inhabitants of Raj. Okay, there is a price to that. So context helps us to really have a dimension, a proper conception of what's the real value of the product, if you will. So we should be willing to go through that over and over again, as Guru Maharaj was saying yesterday, when he mentioned how Mahaprabhu heard hundreds and hundreds of times this Prahlad Charit, this Dhruva Charit. Now we are speaking about GOPI-GITA. It doesn't mean that we cannot any longer, no more speak about Prahlad Charit or Dhruva Charit. So all the things that have been spoken till this point of the Rasa Lila by Sukadev to Parikshit has been a preparation. So Parikshit may receive this particular Harikatha, Rasa Panchadhyaya. Now you have to remember how Vyasadeva, after writing the Bhagavad, after reaching this zenith, he retired himself. He had nothing else to say to the whole world, if you will. He reached the full maturity of his devotional expression. But again, context is required in order not to misconstrue this not only this Bhagavad, but specifically this Rasa Lila. Not only Englishmen misconstrue this, but Hinduism as well. You can consider Rasa Lila as obscene sometimes. Some people accept it, but rejects. I mean, some people accept Krishna, but reject the Krishna of Braj, as you know. No? They consider it's illegitimate form of divinity. So they try to clean Krishna from the dirty associations of Braj, if you will, especially with Radha or this so-called Parakiya, and they try to restore, quote unquote, him to the pristine state of the Bhagavad-Gita, where he's the Upanishadic prince speaking philosophical knowledge and given proper example and so on. So it's very easy to misconstrue this Rasa Lila, Rasa Panchadhyaya. So because it seems, it's similar to what we know here in this world as love, as romantic affairs. So, and generally we have not transcended that type of emotion in this world. So it's very delicate how to approach this. But if we have proper context, proper education, proper grace, there will be no problem. Actually, that Rasa Lila will help us to transcend whatever mundane emotion we have. That will be the last verse of the whole Rasa Panchadhyaya. The Falishruti, the verse who gives the blessing, is if you properly study this section with faith and good guidance, you will transcend all mundane lust. So different acharyas have given different warnings in this direction. Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta, for example, said, someone asked him once, can you speak about Rasa Lila? He said, yes, bring a brick tomorrow. So everyone brought a brick. And he said, start to put your hands in the brick. And they have his disciples moving his hands on the brick like for an hour. And he said, what do you feel? Nothing. I feel, oh, this is tough. This is, I don't know, this is not nice. So he said, well, when you put your hands on the breast of a lady and you feel exactly the same, you're qualified to fully hear Rasa Lila, he said. Of course, he spoke about that here and there, but he wanted to make a point. Like you cannot fully participate there if you have not transcended certain mundane sensibilities. Or like when someone asked Guru Maharaj, is there real sex in the spiritual world? And he said, well, you are mistaken. Wrong question. There is no real sex over here. So it's important to reconsider, to deconstruct our so-called idea of who we are, of what's romance, and so on, and try to put everything from the proper perspective, from the proper order of priority, and so on. Sometimes they say that the Rasa Lila was inspired by the dancing of the peacock. Krishna saw the peacock making their romantic dance. He felt inspired to do that. And it is said that the peacock, the union of the peacock with the she-peacock, sometimes it is said that it's not through intercourse, but the peacock is dancing, and after at one point he's crying, and the she-peacock is swallowing those tears and becomes pregnant. Of course, maybe scientifically this is not proved, but at least in a poetic sense, the implication is there is no real mundane exchange here at all. Let me share some brief words by Guru Maharaj that he mentioned in his aesthetic Vedanta in this regard. He says, in the Rasa Lila, God Krishna enters humanity to celebrate his sensuality, thus confirming the sense in all of us that our drive for the erotic is not something to be abolished. It is to be redirected away from the world and toward the Absolute, appearing in its human-like expression of Krishna, Radha and Krishna. In the Rasa Lila, we discover divine humanism, where divinity validates the essence of humanity, and humanity speaks to us about that which divinity must embody in its fullest expression. So beautiful description of Guru Maharaj about the gist of this Rasa Lila, the background, the real ontology of this particular divine play. So when we speak about Rasa Lila, the word Rasa generally has a long A. The first of the two A's is with long. Generally, the word Rasa doesn't include a long A. But when we speak about Rasa Lila, the first A is long. And this is referring to a specific autumnal circle dance that is celebrated in the harvest season. That is the one that appears in this section of the Bhagavatam. which is also celebrated during the first day of Kartik. And the theologians in the Chaitanya, in our school, in the Gaudiya Vedanta, they consider that the word rasa, because having a long A in the context of rasa lila, is the culmination of all rasas. So they emphasize this idea: rasa lila is the essence of all lilas. That's why you have a longer rasa, if you will, broader, deeper. So this is some brief words about Rasa Lila in a generic sense, an introduction to what's this Rasa Lila. Of course, we could continue speaking about this, but I prefer to enter into the last section of today's talk, that will be arguably the longest, about an introduction of the first chapter of these 5 chapters of the Rasa Lila, chapter 29. So I will give a brief introduction to this first chapter, and tomorrow we'll begin the introduction of the next chapter, and on Monday we will start with the GOPI-GITA. So, Sri Rasa Lila ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Sudkadev Goswami Mahasaya ki jai. So we are today, let's enter into the stage, into the scene. We are in the first day of Kartik, as I told you. Full moon, Sharat Purnim. Sharat has to do with autumn, and Purnim means full moon. So this is Sharat Purnim, first day of Kartik. Krishna is there, standing in Braj, and he starts to glimpse at the full moon, on autumn, a very poetic, beautiful scenery. So it is said that at that point, Yogamaya Upasrita, say the first verse, Krishna took shelter in Yogamaya. So Yogamaya inspired Krishna at that moment, romantically. In all religions, we see this, the poets inspire with nature. But here we find the original inspiration, if you will, in connection to nature. Krishna himself, looking at the moon, looking at the forest, looking at the special season, and Yogamaya creating certain specific desire. So it is said that this golden moon, this full moon, which was golden, being full, reminded Krishna of Srimati Radharani's lotus face. And at the same time, it is said that the face of the moon was like tinged, a little bit tinged, by the heaven, which was red on the other side because the sun was hiding. So it was like full moon golden, which is the Radha's face, and the redness of the sky, which reminded Krishna of the rag, or the affection of Sri Radha. Also, this is connected, for example, to the Holy Lila. Holy Lila, the festival of colors. Originally, they were throwing red powder to each other, and putting red powder here on the cheeks, which represent to put in red powder in the cheeks of the ones you love. That's the original idea of holy, which has to do, red is rag, affection. So I'm kissing you, if you will. I'm giving you my affection. So in this way, holy represents something, as you see, very delicate. To put this red powder in the cheeks of someone you love. So in the same way, Krishna was looking at the moon with his cheeks powdered by red, similar to holy. So the moon was rendering service to Krishna in this way. And all this reminded Krishna of Srimati Radha Thakurani. So he felt himself inspired to please her desire and the desire of all the gopis. But as we will see, the gopis are actually trying to please Krishna's desire. That's a divine competition. So at this point, the Bhagavad says, although Krishna is Atmaram, he's the self-satisfied Lord, Aptakam, all his desires are fulfilled. At the same time, he had the desire for conjugal interaction by the express will of Yogamaya. So keeping this in mind, and Krishna thought, we remember, he said, whatever great men do, others will follow, Krishna thought. He says this in Bhagavad-Gita, Jat Vyada Charati Shreshtas, and so on. So he saw the behavior of the founder of his own dynasty. And Krishna is coming from the Moon dynasty. So Krishna said, okay, the founder of my dynasty, the Moon, is showing this particular face, this particular color, as we know, this particular emotion. So Krishna felt, I have to make a definite effort to attract the gopis to me, to attract other wives, if you will, of Vrindavan, and enjoy without fear. So that was the inspiration that Krishna received. So Yogamaya provided him further udipana in that context, further stimulants, not only the moon, but everything. Desha, Kala, Patra. Desha means place. In this case, it's Braj, the forest of Vrindavan. Kala, moment, which is the moment, autumn, full moon. And Patra, circumstance, which is the gopis, the affection of the gopis. That is particular circumstance. So all these elements were very expertly provided by Yogamaya. So there were different flowers creating different fragrances simultaneously from different seasons, out of season. Even some flowers were there, creating the perfect stage from that particular lila. So Krishna stands in Tribanga, in this curved form in tree, under the Bamsi Bat, this famous area of Vrindavan, under this tree, Bamsi Bat, and he played his fifth note, which has the pa in music, the musical theory of India. It has to do with the romantic love as well. Also called the Kam Beach, or the seed of desire, connected with the mantra Klim. Klim has to do with this desire beach, sometimes called the original mantra of Cupid. So Krishna, there is Cupid in this world, but Krishna is the Cupid of Cupid. And as we will know eventually, he has his own Cupid. He's affected also by Cupid in another sense. So generally when Krishna plays the flute, as we may know, he affects the whole of Braj. The playing of his flutes puts all the Braj into a particular type of trance. Animals, mineral kingdom, vegetable kingdom, humans, what to speak of human. But in this case, the particular way he played his flute was like a, how to say in English, like remote controlled missile, like directed specifically to the gopis. Like when Parikshit was in the womb of Uttar, and there was some Brahmastra that was specifically to him, no one else will be killed. So in this sense, Krishna played the flute, and some sound was specifically going with a special message exclusively directed to the heart of the gopis, who were in their houses at that time. So Krishna plays the flute in Tribanga, Gopa Venu, Gopa Vesha Venu Kara Navakishun Natavara Nana Lira Hari Anurup, says Chaitanya Charitamrita. He who wears the cloth of the cowherd playing the flute, who is eternally youthful, and he's expressing in his human-like leelas, he's the topmost expression of divinity. So every gopi who was at their house, they heard their own name in that flute sound. They were hearing Krishna calling them. Krishna, when you go to the Madhukari, to beg, so Krishna was begging through the sound of the flute. He was imploring, like pitifully, in a pathetic way. He was begging them, please reply my call. In other words, what the gopis heard was Krishna is saying to me, he can no longer live without me. And he's asking me, every gopi was thinking like this, he's asking me to go just now running and save his life because he is burning in separation. This was the gopis' experience by hearing Krishna's flute. This is not just a sound of the flute, as you may understand. So all of these gopis who heard the flute just ran, left whatever they were doing, and just ran behind that sound. Sarvadharmam parityaja mamekam sharanam braja. They left whatever they were doing, whatever dharma. They were milking the cows, they were cooking at home, they were giving breast milk to their children, they were with their husbands, they were eating, they were having bath, they were just dressing themselves, decorating. They neglected all these duties. The idea is they neglected all duties based on aham, mame, mama, of I and on I and mine. All of this was neglected and just running behind the flute song, the flute call of Krishna. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur expresses very nicely this moment in his Darsarartha Darshini. So let me share you a brief section of that, what he says. He says, Krishna instigated a terrible act of thievery in Vrindavan when he played on his flute. The song of Krishna's flute passed through the ears of the gopis and entered the treasure chamber of their hearts. That wonderful music stole all their most valuable possessions, their sobriety, shyness, fear, and discrimination, along with their very minds. And in a split second, this music delivered all these goods to Krishna. Thus afflicted, each beautiful Kishori was thinking, I have to capture that great thief. And thus they went forward, each unknown to the others. They began to chase the thief, to catch him and retrieve their property. So in this beautiful way, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is depicting the psychology of the gopis when they heard the sound. Of course, they were running there to save Krishna's life, as you see. But in the poetic expression of Vishwanath, he was trying to make it clear how their minds were totally stolen, manohar, totally. So they were just going back to Krishna and say, give us our minds back, give us our everything back, something like this. But actually, of course, again, substantially they are going to save, as we will see eventually in the Gopi-Gita, Krishna's life. So it is said that when the flute sound was there and the gopis just tried to run, some of the family members of some gopis tried to stop them, actually. But it is said that at that point, Yogamaya makes some arrangement and creates some replicas of these gopis at home. So they were able to leave towards this flute sound, and a replica remained at home. So the family members were quiet, were happy with that. No? But it is said that at the same time, some gopis were not able to leave at all from the house. So they were just like absorbed in meditation, in quarantine, if you will, and they were not able to reach the place as the other gopis did. It is said that some of them were Munichari gopis, which were sadhana siddha, that were not yet fully ripe in prem. But others were able to go along with the Nitya Siddha gopis. So it is said that these gopis that were still not fully prepared to such a meeting because their prem was not fully matured, they were stopped by their husbands. So they remain at home, they absorb themselves in Sri Krishna, and in that fire of separation and the intensity of their absorption burnt whatever impurity remained there, if you will. So sometimes it is expressed that some gopis died in that context, but actually they did not die. That world had ruined the whole festival. So the thing that died was their subtle body, if you will, their subtle impediments. So they were eventually able to join also the festival. So the gopis who ran after the flute were able to reach there. They get to the shores of the Jamuna, and Krishna is contemplating the beauty, the chaotic beauty of the gopis. Because remember, he played the flute, and some gopi was just half dressed, and they put the earrings on the ankle bells as the earrings, and the bra and the whatever. All the clothes was of the opposite. The kajal was the lipstick, the kid lipstick was the kajal. So you can imagine the disastrous scene in aesthetic terms. But for Krishna, it was especially charming, because that speaks about the intensity of your affection. So he was contemplating that, but at the same time, he was looking for one particular gopi, Srimati Radha. So you see, they are very detached. Sometimes we think, sannyasi is very strong. He left his family, if you will. He's very detached. But maybe he thinking, okay, I'm accepting this because by accepting this, my family we will benefit it, and they will be delivered by Krishna eventually. And Krishna is God, so he will help them. But when the gopis were running from their house, they were not thinking that they themselves or their families will be delivered. Not at all. They were not thinking that Krishna is God. Not at all. They had, on the other side, they have the full risk of being totally rejected in their houses, in society, their whole family reputation ruined. So they have zero consideration of the possible consequences of what they were doing. They were totally absorbed in self-forgetfulness in divine love. So this is the ultimate application of this idea of sarpa dharma parityaja, of rejecting all dharma and only going to Krishna. Why? Because you love me, says Krishna. This is the gopis' approach. It is said, Srila Maharaj will say, Vrindavan is full of ideas where the consequences are not being measured. They are not measuring the consequence of what they are doing. They're just so full of love, especially in this particular section that we are studying here. So the idea is that Krishna make all this arrangement of the parakia, no? The fact that the gopis are not, in one sense, Krishna's wives. So in order to exhibit the glory of the gopis' love, as how they are transgressing all these social challenges, these obstacles on a daily basis, and acting not in an immoral way, but what we will call transmoral. So the gopis are the epitome of transmorality. And many of these gopis, apart from the Nitya Siddha gopis, eternally liberated gopis, many of them are sadhana siddhas. So they are people that have been practicing for lifetime after lifetime after lifetime in order to get a birth like this, as a gopi. So they are not ordinary people, and they are not the wives of anyone else, even though in the dynamics of the Lila it seems so. As we will see, actually even the gopis' husbands are Krishna's wives, if you will. all of them are married to Krishna in one form or another. So at this point, Vishwanath will mention very poetically also, he said, even though the gopis were already bewildered by the resonant sound of Krishna's flute, Krishna, who is the most expert user of speech in regards to proper time, place, and person, bewildered the gopis even more by his use of words. So now we will see how Krishna welcomed the gopis. The gopis were already bewildered by the flute, as we say. They left everything and just ran as great and a divine mad woman behind the sound, without consideration, without measuring any consequence, nothing, any implication. That's already a considerable level of bewilderment. But now they arrived, and they are looking, all of them are looking to each other. Oh, you are right. Oh, you are right also. All of us are here. And they are absorbed in looking at Krishna. So what will Krishna say now? Let's see, for increasing further bewilderment. So Krishna, with the purpose of increasing the experience of rasa, creating the momentum for the rasa lila, and to further establish the glories of the gopis' love, all this has this purpose in mind. Krishna starts to ask the gopis, why have you come here? Like surprise. He was calling them. He was again begging them, save my life. I'm dying in separation. If you don't come, I will die. I cannot bear any longer. So gopis, of course, just ran there, and they arrived. Imagine the situation. And Krishna said, oh, what are you doing here? Is everything okay in Braj? Krishna asked. Everything is okay? Some problem was there? Maybe some new putana, some demon came and you're coming just to ask my help? No? And eventually say, it is not befitting for young girls like you to be here. No, it's midnight. It's in the middle of the forest. You are with me alone. I'm brahmachari, Krishna says. All of you are married girls. So this is the less befitting situation. So Krishna starts to speak to Krishna to them. So he's saying, you should return. Again, forest is filled with dangerous creatures. Your family must be totally concerned at home because they are not finding you at this time of the day. You have so many duties waiting for you at home, crying babies, cows that need to be milked. But it is interestingly mentioned that according to the elasticity of flexibility of Sanskrit, all of the words that Krishna is saying can mean exactly the opposite. So Krishna is saying, you should return home, and actually he's saying, there's no place that you can go apart from this, where you are with me. No? Your family is waiting for you. There will be problem. He's actually saying there will be no problem at all with the whole family. And so on. No? You have so many duties there. He said, the only duty for you is to be here with me now. No? So Krishna is saying the two things at the same time, if you will. So the gopis seem like bewildered again. No? Like, what's his real intention? I mean, he called us, we hear his call. He's saying the opposite here, but it seems that there's some implied meaning, which actually saying the contrary. Maybe after that, Krishna says to them, well, maybe you came to the forest not to look at the beauty of the forest, but by love to me, because every entity in the forest loves me. No? So Krishna tries to make the to present the gopis' love as similar to the others one's love. So maybe you came attracted to me like all of these species in the forest possess that attraction. In other words, your love is common, it's ordinary, like the other ones. So Krishna was trying again to turn more and more the heart of the gopis. So eventually he concludes like saying, okay, but the highest dharma for a lady is to serve his husband. And if you want a good destiny in your next life, if you want to be sent to heavenly planets, promoted there, you should never abandon such a service. You have a very respectable background. So if you incur in adultery with me or with someone, you will be deprived of sarga and so many benefits. So you start to preach ordinary dharma, karma kanda, like this to the gopis. And if you do like that, Krishna said that's worse than death itself, like he said to Arjuna, infamy. If your fame is damaged. And the gopis are not interested in all that, as you know. They left all like long time ago, their families, their reputation, and so on. And eventually Krishna concludes his discourse, his preaching to the gopis, saying, well, actually transcendental love for him comes from Shravan, Darshan, Dhyan, Kirtan, from seeing me, hearing about me, chanting about me, meditating about me, but not by mere physical proximity. So better, Krishna concludes, better that you return home. So again, with all the things that Krishna is saying, simultaneously he's saying the exact opposite. I cannot go into the details, impossible to reproduce all those things, details there that our commentators have described very nicely. You can of course go there as well. So the gopis are like confused by this apparent dual discourse by Krishna. So Sukadev Goswami at that point, he mentioned the gopis remain in silence at that moment. Externally, they showed that humility, like their hopes was totally frustrated with big anxiety. But it is said that at the same time they could understand internally that the meaning of Krishna's words were fully favorable. But it is said that the humility of their prem make them exhibit these other symptoms externally. So externally, in the humility of their prem, the gopis thought, like, I don't know, like, should we make a show of very humbly holding Krishna's feet and crying piteously, begging him to remain here? Or should we try our best to remain sober, like feigning aloofness, return to Braj, and somehow force our minds to stay like sober? Or perhaps we should just give up our lives? The gopis were like wondering all this, either in his presence or else secreting, drowning in the Jamuna, or by some other means, whatever. But they thought at the same time, but if we end our lives, how we will be able to see Krishna's sweet face again? And how will we be able then, as he has ordered us, they will think like to eat the vomit of service to our husbands and relatives. How will we be able to follow his instruction? How can we maintain ourselves? They ended like this, where we will go, what we will do. And we will totally bewildered in that particular expression of humility. So at that point, the Bhagavad describes that with their heads hanging down and their heavy, sorrowful breathing drying up their reddened lips, the gopis scratched the ground with their toes. They started like to draw something. And tears were flowing from their eyes, carrying their kajal, this like black, I don't know how to say, substance that ladies put in the eyes, and also men in India. So there were tears flowing in their eyes, and their kajal was washing away the vermilion smear of their breasts. So it is said that the gopis stood there, and silently they were bearing the burden of their own impending separation and unhappiness. One of the ideas, the possible ideas, because the commentators give different like possibilities, different moods, because there are different gopis with different moods also here. So some of the gopis thought, okay, prem is defined as that thing that controls the object of one's love. So if Krishna, who is the object of our love, has not been conquered by our love, and if he's just kicking us out, it means that our love is not genuine. So that's the natural humility of the gopis. They were not thinking Krishna's at fault. They do not think that, never. Even if sometimes they express that by criticizing him, it's in the context of some loving exchange, some funny moment, and increasing the rasa experience. But ultimately, they always carry all the full responsibility on their shoulders. No one else is like to be guilty of whatever is happening to them. That we will see that in detail in the Gopi-Gita. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, in his Sarartha Darshini, he very nicely and very terribly, if you will, poetically describes this. He said that the sign of the gopis' shame is indicated by their scratching on the earth with their left big toes. And he said, the gopi thought, "Oh, Mother Earth, please open up so that we can enter within you." The gopis' tears mixed with their kajal and fell in two parallel lines to smear the kumkum on their breasts. It was as if the increasing torment of separation, like a saw, was cutting the gopis in two with those black lines. It can be surmised, though it has not been stated, that all these tears did not soak their inner garments. This is because the rivers of tears from their eyes and the fire of remorse raging in their hearts started a war opposing the functions of wetting and drying up. So we can see how beautifully these moments are described, but also at the same time they're trying to give us a glimpse, a proper depiction of the emotional range of the gopis. All of this condensed, centered in the hankering of being not, and the anticipation of not being able to fully express in their loving service to Sri Krishna, to fully satisfy Krishna's service. Remember, over and over and over again, this. They are not there for satisfying their own desire, their own whimsical idea. They are only there because Krishna called them, because he needs them, because he needs to be saved, and the gopis are just living for that. So after this, the Bhagavad is saying, although Krishna was their beloved, and although they have abandoned all other objects of desire for his sake, he had been speaking to them unfavorably. So nonetheless, they remain unflinching in their attachment to him. Full chastity, full loyalty here. Stopping their crying, they whipped their eyes and began to speak with their voices stimmering with agitation. So it is said here that the statement that the gopis rubbed their eyes, which had been blinded with tears, implies that they were thinking, now our end has come. So let us take a good look at Krishna's lotus feet before we die. That was their psychology. Okay, Krishna is sending us back home. It means sending us back death. So we will die if we are not able to properly fulfill our beloved's wish. So at least let's look at his face for one more time. So for this, they have to take off the torrential rain of tears, look at him, and leave this world. So that was their psychology. So at this point, at this very point of chapter 29, starts the Pranaya Gita, which is one of the Gitas that I mentioned before, the song of equal love, where the gopis will reply to Krishna's arguments and explain why they should stay there and not go back home. So in replying, the Braja Gopikas will forcefully express their pure intentions and different feelings, transcendental feelings for the one and only true husband of Krishna, master of everyone. They will express their love to him. And in these talks, they express the deepest love. And they reveal a type of sweetness in Prem called Pranay. So let me share brief words about Pranay. And we will continue. We have some little bit more today. So Pranay is in this case, one of the stages of Prem, different ways of translating Pranay, but here we're speaking about Sneha, Mana, Pranay, Raga, Anurag, Bhava, Mahabhav. So Pranay is a spiritual type of psychology or mentality of equality and oneness of heart between the lover and the beloved. So it includes like different emotions, firm faith, like trust, like how to say, boldness, And it is said that it's completely free from every slight sense of reverence. So in this type of pranaya, prem, the lover completely identifies with the beloved, but of course not like the oneness between Jiva and Brahman, Advaita Vedanta, not this indeterminate merging, if you will, not Sayurya Mukti, but a dynamic union, as Guru Maharaj will say, you and I becoming we. So in this level of pranaya, to say that the lover feel that the life's heirs, the two of them, the two parties, feel the life's heirs, their minds, their intelligence, their bodies, their garments, prana, mana, buddhi, deha, vesha, whatever, are identical with their counterparts in their beloved. And there's no difference. One is the extension of another. So the lover will think, you are my very pran, and I am your very pran. I'm your very life, your very existence, basically. So by that feeling, in their love and exchange, there is no hesitation, there's no fear, there is no distance. We must sometimes give the example, if you go in the street and touch someone and say, oh, excuse me. But if you touch someone that you love, you won't say, excuse me, because you feel the body of the other one is an extension of myself. Because I fully extended myself into that other person by loving attachment. The same way it happens with material attachment. We extend our sense of identity into one particular direction by the force of love. So, for example, Krishna can place his feet of Sri Radharani's breast or whatever other part, or pass his two tambul, betel nut, into Radha's mouth without fear, without hesitation. It's like, we are one, in one sense. So this is the Pranaya Gita. I won't go into detail of the verses of the Pranaya Gita. There are like 11 verses, and it requires a whole series of lectures altogether. So maybe someday, but not now. But the gopis present their case and express why they should stay there. And of course, they defeat Krishna in their argument. And so Krishna is defeated. He accepts first defeat in the Rasa Lila. So first section of Rasa Lila will start. Here we are going through the remaining verses of chapter 29, verses like 42 till 48. We have just 7 verses and we're finishing. So the first section of Rasa Lila starts after this argument and counter-argument and so on. They start to sing, they start to dance. And Krishna and the gopis, it is very nicely described in the Bhagavad, how they very joyfully, the gopis start to sing the praise of Krishna with different swara, raga, tal, with different tones and scales and melody and rhythms. And Krishna started to reply the gopis also, glorifying each of them in the same tal that the gopis were singing and so on. They are exchanging their affection in the form of dancing and singing. So Krishna is dancing with each gopi. Some commentators mention that Krishna expands himself in millions of identities, seem exactly identical to him, to dance with each gopi. This is Swayam Prakash. If you remember when we spoke about in Panchatattva series about Nityananda and Baladev, he was Vaibhav Prakash, which meant an expansion of Krishna which remains in time but is slightly different, emotionally a different color. That's Baladev. And here's Swayam Prakash, which means identical expansion but which doesn't last in time. So some commentators mention this Swayam Prakash, Krishna expanded in identical forms to dance with each gopi. But some other acharyas like Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur, he differs from this. He says, no, Swayam Rupa himself, Krishna, without expanding, he danced with each gopi. Because expansion would have meant Aishwarya. And here there is no Aishwarya, no expansions. But whatever the case, the circular dance is there with the gopis. Krishna, gopis dancing in the circle, but in the center of the circle, only there is Krishna dancing with Srimati Radha. So it is said that eventually after this first part of the dancing and the singing, after being relatively tired for a moment, Krishna goes with the gopis to the bank of the Jamuna for a moment. And he threw his arms around the gopis' necks, embraced them, joked with them. He aroused Cupid, it is said in the Bhagavad, in them by playing romantically, by joking with them again. glancing at them, laughing with them, and so on. So this is the scene described in this 29th chapter, and we have two more verses, 47 and 48. So let's analyze these two, and we will find a sudden change in the scene, no? Because everything now is flowing in a very normal, natural way. No, Krishna is defeated, they start to dance, to sing, different loving exchanges. So verse 47 explains that at that point, the gopis became proud of themselves for having received such a special attention from Krishna. So each of them thought herself the best woman on earth. Each one thinking in their ecstasy. Again, do not take this as mundane, because again, for reaching this place, no mundane feeling was able. So it was an ecstasy where you are feeling Krishna is only with me. Krishna is only with me. This is described in many sections of the Bhagavad. It happens to different devotees. So at that moment, and the last verse is saying this of the Bhagavad, Lord Keshav, seeing the gopis too proud of their good fortune, wanted to relieve them of this pride and show them further mercy. Thus, he immediately disappeared. And that's the end of the chapter 29, with such a sudden change, twist of dynamics. So let's share brief words about Krishna's disappearing, and tomorrow we will continue, of course, with the gopis searching, the search of the gopis for Krishna. So what's the background of this idea of Krishna's disappearing? Why Krishna disappeared? There are many layers of meaning in this regard. So it is said that this disappearance was manifested by Krishna's Leela Shakti for the purpose, of course, of enhancing rasa, as usual, according to the typical logic that is presented in the Rasa Shastras, which says that the same way that one cannot redden cloth or some other object without the use of red dye, in the same way the happiness of union, sambhog, cannot reach its fullest limit without the experience of separation, vipralamba. Bharat Muni said this, no? So the purpose of separation, as sad as it may seem, always has to be fully fulfilled in the realm of union. That's the purpose of separation. Of course, in itself, some acharyas commented separation is also fulfilling, but generally the idea of separation is with the purpose of enhancing the pleasure of union. If there's no union, you cannot speak of separation as well. There's no purpose of that. So a general meaning of the verse is the one we mentioned. We may say the gopis became proud of their good fortune and some type of spiritual pride. Krishna is only with me. But there are some other layers of deeper meaning. So let me share two of them and we will finish here. So Krishna was enjoying equally with all the gopis, it is said. So at that point, Radha, who is the leading gopi, of course, he entered in man. He became manini. He became sulky, in sulky mode, with angry eyes. So it is said that the lesser ranking gopis who became intoxicated with pride over their good fortune, they have something called Sobhagya Mada. Mada means intoxication, and Sobhagya means extreme good fortune. They had Mada, and Radha had Mana. It is said that only Radha was seeing Krishna dancing with other gopis. Radha realized this. Krishna is dancing with other gopis, and she developed man, jealous love. But the other gopis were not realizing that. They were just themselves intoxicated by the idea Krishna is dancing with me. Krishna is not dancing with others. So they developed Mada, and Radha developed Mana, like a play of words. So objecting to this, it is said that Krishna rectified the situation as described in this verse. He disappeared in order to establish and to show the supreme position of the love of Sri Radha, and not letting others think, oh, we are all in the same position, everything is the same, and so on, and some other purpose that we will see. And from later verses, we will understand that Krishna forcibly removed Radha from the midst of other gopis. So to fulfill Krishna's desire, to say that Yogamaya immediately arranged everything in such a way that the other gopis did not even notice Radha's departure there. So that's one layer of meaning that still is considered somehow external by some acharyas. And there are many layers of meaning, of implication. This is called dhwani and ati dhwani and prati dhwani, which means suggested meaning, implied meaning, vyanjana vritti, Parok Shabbat, indirect speech, and things that seem one thing, but there have so many layers of meaning that eventually will be revealed in our heart according to our bhajan. So an even more internal explanation of this moment of the Rasa Lila is Radha, Srimati Radharani observed, oh, these gopis are becoming proud. Again, only the sadhana siddha gopis present here, not the nitya siddha. So Radha thought they are becoming proud, and Radha doesn't have that type of pride. Because she was the one actually who organized the whole Rasa Lila. In one sense, she was so Krishna may be loved by millions of gopis, which actually all these millions of gopis represent millions of moods that Radha herself personified. Every mood that one gopi may have, all of that and more is present in Sri Radha. So that's her expanded desire of pleasing Krishna in so many ways. So she is behind this full organization of the Rasa Lila, if you will. So when she saw some gopis are becoming proud, that's interfering with the enjoyment of Krishna, that will interfere. So Radha couldn't tolerate that the enjoyment of her beloved will be interrupted even for a second. And because of that, she left the Rasa Lila. And it is said that Krishna left behind her. Because when Radha left the Rasa Lila, Krishna was not able to feel inspiration any longer. Because she is Swayam Bhagavati, Krishna is Swayam Bhagavan, but he is Swayam Bhagavati. Krishna plays the flute and everyone moves accordingly, but it is said that when Radha is moving with their ankle bells, the sound of the ankle bells, it is said that that gives rise to all these other sounds of the universe. And that's what was animating Krishna to move in the Rasa Lila. The flute seems to be the leader, but Radha's ankle bells are teaching Krishna how to dance, as you say. Amik Shisha Guru Nath Radhikar Prema Mat. He's a student at the dancing school of the love of Radha. So in this way, we have some, as we can say, deeper and deeper layers of meanings of why Krishna disappeared from the scene of the Rasa Lila. So some ideas I wanted to share today with you, an introduction to the different songs of the Bhagavad, going to the most confidential songs in the 10th canto sung by the gopis, some introduction to the Rasa Lila in itself, and now we are starting the official introduction to the GOPI-GITA, having gone through the chapter 29. So tomorrow we will continue with the search of the gopis for Krishna having disappeared and what happened in between. That's the chapter 30. And eventually in the following class, we will start officially with GOPI-GITA. So thank you so much for your presence. And if we have some minutes, at least 5-10 minutes, if you will, if there's any question, we can try to reply whatever you may like to ask about.
A question?
There is a question?
Yes.
Yes.
Like for myself, I don't feel really qualified to hear and understand this subject matter, but I'm hoping and assuming that just by hearing it, it's purifying and beneficial. And could you say something about that?
Well, it's a good feeling, the one you have. Of course, we are not qualified for that. I mean, but the point is, what that thing that qualifies us, and what are we qualified for? Because we are not qualified for hearing GOPI-GITA, but most probably we will feel I'm not qualified either for hearing about Panchatattva, Gorska Kaliya Lila, Sikshastakam, chanting Maha Mantra, having prasad, receiving sadhu sangha, worshiping the deity. So if we follow that line of thought, we have to leave Gaudiya Vedanta altogether right now. And I don't think that's the idea of Sumati's comment at all, of course. So it's a good like combination of emotion that you feel, okay, I'm totally unqualified. That's right, that's correct. I mean, but at the same time, this is a mercy that is coming towards us. No? For example, as I said, Guru Maharaj wrote Static Vedanta. That's his mercy to us. He's speaking about these things. And we may feel, oh, that's so much above my head. But again, that's the whole principle of mercy. It's above my head. I cannot pay for that. I do not deserve that. But I had, by the power of that same mercy, I had a glimpse of how much I need that. And by the power of the Sadhus Association, I developed some sort of taste for that. I feel attracted toward hearing about that. So that's the entry point. And as if we are sincere in embracing that initial mercy, that will create further mercy that will attract us more and qualify us more, because we will be only qualified by mercy. That's what Bhaktivinoda Thakur says in his now the Bhavataranga. The adhikar of a devotee will be established according to the degree of mercy he has received from the Vaishnavas. So mercy is that thing that qualifies us. We are being qualified by something we do not deserve. So you don't deserve to be hearing about this. I do not deserve to be speaking about this. But at the same time, by the arrangement of the Kripa Shakti, we are here speaking about this. And by the mercy of the topic itself, by the mercy of the Bhagavad, by the mercy of the Gopis, by the mercy of Sri Guru and Vaishnavas, we are able to catch a glimpse of this and develop a taste for this, to the point that we will desire, I want this to be my whole life and soul, and nothing else apart from these topics, these narrations, this world. It's not just topics, as we will see. And we should allow that to enter into our lives, because that's real humility, to be fully defeated by the power of mercy and give a testimony of how that is happening in our daily life. So we shouldn't run from that, because we need that and we feel attracted to that. But we should be humble enough to recognize, as much as that comes to my life, the less deserving I feel, but the more attracted I am. So that sounds like paradoxical, but by the power of mercy, we can harmonize all this and continue growing day after day in our practice. No? So some ideas, but I hope you are tomorrow in the second class.
I'll be here.
Yeah. We do not deserve that. So it's not
emphasize, it's the mercy that makes me want to be here.
Yeah.
It's all mercy.
That should be the perfect combination, and every day in our practice. I feel small and undeserving, but at the same time I feel that this is unresistibly attracted to that thing that is coming to me, that is making me more and more humble. More and more humble and more attracted. That should be the combination. The power of mercy makes me more and more humble and more attracted. If I'm not embracing mercy, I will become more and more pride and less attracted. So you can measure how are you doing with your spiritual life in that connection. So
thank you.
No, thank you for your mercy. Something else? Okay, already almost 1 hour and a half, so I think enough for today. So hope to see you tomorrow at this same at 5, and we will continue with chapter number 30 of the Bhagavad. Thank you very much. See you tomorrow. Srila Gurudev ki jai, Sriman Mahaprabhu ki jai, Sri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Shri Gaur Radha Madhava ki jai, Shrantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Sri Gopi-GITA ki jai, Sri Rasa Panchadhyaya ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Gaur Premananda Haribo, Vanchakalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhyaiva cha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Gaur Haribo.
Padmanabha Swami ki jai. It's very beautiful. Thank you so much for that class. It was wow. Thank you.
Jai. See you tomorrow.
Jai. Hare Krishna.
Jai. Hare.